We are making the virtual HBCU experience available wherever you live through Stillman Online. We offer online degrees in business, criminal justice, psychology, and religion. Stillman also offers technology badges in cybersecurity and data analytics. You can participate in all student activities, fraternities and sororities, internships, graduation ceremonies, and much more. Apply for admission today at stillman.edu. Stillman College, where we prepare you for a different world.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
T. Madden & Associates is a sophisticated and experienced law firm located in your neighborhood. We're turning injury to cash.
T. Madden and Associates obtained almost $2 million for my injury. They turned my injury to cash.
Now, we can't guarantee how much your injury is worth, but we've recovered millions for our clients. Call T. Madden & Associates at 833-PAID-123. That's 833-PAID-123.
Q Time is our classic Atlanta soul food restaurant located in the historic West End. Q Time Soul Food is a family business started by Fred and Christine Crenshaw. Come on in, relax, and sink your chops into our tantalizing, mouth-watering, distinctive soul food with a twist, the Q Time way. 1120 Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard, or call your order in at 404-758-2881. Do you miss your mama's cooking? Then come on down to Q Time, an Urban Passport member.
The Cavil Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cavil.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties. Through its programs, Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentjax.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
Oh, we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell your mama hungry.
From novice to aficionado, find
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah, man. I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So
looks like we got Doc stuck there.
Yep.
Well, Michael, let's get ready to up and go with this episode of Dr. Ville's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, coming to you tonight from our home offices, of course. Of course, we're coming off of the SWAC championship game as we get back into it. I tell you what, Mike, you know, as we wait on Doc to get back in. There he is.
Yeah, it's been quite the weekend, Charles. I mean,
I saw you, Charles, take over. I like that. Yeah, Jackson State doing it right now. They just take over. Dr. Ville's inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, and seriousness. Appreciate you picking up as you always do, leading from the front. Welcome to episode 340 Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast. The show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports. From institutions large and small, from the NIA to the NCAA, we share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. We're filming from our home studios and sending a signal live. Case-Ways 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, Ralph Cooper, multi-Hall of Famer, as many would say, in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. Today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THG Agency. THG Agency is a company that provides sporting and educational consulting analytics. With that being said, I'm going to go to you, Mike, and just ask you, how's your day going?
Man, it's rough, man. Is it Thursday yet? I'm serious. It's been a long way. Been a topsy-turvy weekend.
That's tough.
There's nothing going on in the world of HBCU sports. There's nothing going on. So other than that, life is good, Doc. I appreciate it. Glad to be back on the pod with you and my boy CB.
Man, I ain't gonna lie, we missed you in Jackson. Charles took care of me though. I had a good time. If I wouldn't have to get out, I would have got some chance with the brothers there from Jackson. Had the chapter there as they celebrated. We did it online, but they had breakfast, and Charles, he was so engaged he answered the phone call. I was just gonna tell him appreciate everything. What such a nice trip, but they probably was sipping on some mimosa. For Founders Day, they were doing it. So it was big.
What does a Jackson breakfast consist of? I want to know. What does a good Jackson breakfast consist of?
Hey, watch this, Mike. Eggs Benedict.
Eggs Benedict.
I hear you.
That would be right answer.
There you go.
Yeah.
Charles, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Doc, man. I tell you what, it is. I'm doing well considering I know what some people think, but no, it's finals week for me. So it's that has my attention, and it has all my time and energy and all that good stuff. But it is what it is. There's a lot of people in their emotions right now. You try to help people get through that right now. But at the end of the day, I'm extremely excited for the opportunity that Coach Prime has in front of him, and Jackson State football. They'll pick up from here and go from here and we'll see what happens.
Yep.
Big deal. I like the way you put that. Before we get into it further, let's jump in there about the SWAC championship game. Attendance rivals Power 5 title tilts from HBCUsports.com puts out an article that's interesting about attendance, one figure of how you measure the success of a conference championship game. SWAC championship game rivaled attendance figures for many Power 5 conference title games over the weekend. On Saturday, Jackson State's 43-24 win over Southern Mississippi Veterans Memorial Stadium drew 53,754 fans. The conference championship game record exceeding 2021 total just last year, where they had 50,128, also played in Jackson when JSU hosted Prairie View. The SWAC title game ranked at the 6th most watched in the country in regards to the SEC, 74,810, which is the big gorilla out there. Big 12 had 69,335. Big 10 had 67,107. ACC also had 64,115, and Pac-12 had 61,195. So you look at literally the Power Five, they all had over 60,000. And then you jump to an FCS program with the SWAC with 53,754 fans. That was above G5 members such as Conference USA with 41,412. The American Athletic Conference at 30,118. Mountain West Conference at 24,037. Sun Belt, 21,545. MAC was 15,550. And then another intriguing piece of information that just kind of tells you that you also had championship week CFB TV ratings. Obviously, with the attendance of the SEC and what you imagine, SEC championship game, Georgia LSU, which got out of control pretty early, was on CBS. It had an RTG of 5.6 with 10.89 million viewers. The Big Ten, that was a 4 o'clock game. The 8 o'clock game on Saturday at the Big Ten Championship was on Fox, which is Michigan and Purdue. The SEC game was Georgia and LSU. That was on Fox, 5.5 for 10.7 million. You had the Big 12 Championship at 12 o'clock on ABC, Kansas State TCU, 5.3 viewers, 9.41 million. And then it drops off less than half. With the Pac-12 Championship, which Utah and USC, that was an 8 o'clock Friday night game on Fox, 3.3 viewers at 5.97 million. You had the ACC Clemson in North Carolina, which was a Saturday 8 o'clock kickoff, which had 1.9 million on ABC. 1.9 RTG, I should say, 3.47 million. You had the American AAC Championship, Tulane UCFF on ABC, 1.5 and 2.7 million. Mountain West Championship that we told you about the attendance at Fresno State, Boise State, Fox, 1 RTG at 1.94 viewers, and that was a 4 o'clock game. You had the MAC Championship, Toledo, Ohio on ESPN, 0.43, 721,000 at 12 noon. You had the SWAC Championship that was 415 is what they have listed as the window, which was SWAC Championship game Southern and Jackson State ESPN, 0.23 at 391,000 viewers, which beat out FBS program Sun Belt, played around the same time, 3:30, was actually on the higher network in terms of ESPN, Coastal and Troy, which had a lower rating at 0.19, 332 viewers. So the SWAC beat out at least one program in terms of viewers, beat out 5 in terms of attendance. So let me go to you, Mike. What are your thoughts when you put all that together? Because I know you love data. And then since Charles is having to do his tests and preparing for it, I'm going to talk to him a little bit about his thoughts on it as well.
Yeah, so when you look at data like that, just real quick, it's not important. It's important to not just look at the raw data. You look at capabilities, you look at other X factors that are in the equation, and then you look at potential versus actual. So potentiality, there's an equation in engineering for potentiality and the max. And I wonder if we do this, you look at what was the actual versus potentiality. It's an equation in engineering. The max output versus what you could have possibly put in. Just kind of looking through the rough numbers, for instance, you look at the Big 12, I think it was like 68, 69. There's an X factor. What potentially could they have gotten? What was the actual output? And then, what were some other, factors or parameters? So it's right. I don't want to take you into the engineering or the business world, but when I look at kind of the numbers and I look at potentiality and actuality and all of the X factors, I look at what occurred at the SWAC championship. and they max out, just me looking at raw numbers, what potentiality they could have achieved. So I'm very happy that, what was it, 54,000? I forget. I looked at the numbers when I was looking at the game. And to me, that demonstrates maximum business performance, maximum capability. And I don't want to get nerdy all on you, but I thought that was a great output compared to all of the Power 5 parameters. If you put them all in the same equation, put them all in the same graph, look at potentiality, actuality, you look at that and you look at what the SWAC did over and what they've done over the past couple of years, and one thing rings up, data point, success. Success in viewership, success in participation, because the other X factor you gotta look at is what's outside the stadium, what's part of the participation, what's part of all of the pageantry of the SWAC championship. So I hated to go all nerdy on you, Doc and CB, but I was kind of looking at those numbers. I was looking at the Big 12 championship. I was looking at the SEC championship, and I was putting those on an even plane. And that's what you want to do. And I was really impressed by the turnout in the stadium. I was by the experience. The other X factor is I don't think others offer the experience that we do still in our SWAC championship. So I'll stop right there, pass it on. But I was really impressed with the turnout, with the game itself and all of the pageantry around the game.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Great points. And I'm glad that you went into the data like that. I think some people would enjoy that contextually. Charles, what are your thoughts?
It's funny, Mike, that you mentioned the potential of what could have been. And by most accounts, and talking to a lot of Southern fans, they thought it was a light Southern crowd. And you still had 53,000 people there. So when you started going in that direction, I just kind of thought about that, what could have been, and I don't know what factors went into that, with regards to, the size of the visiting crowd, but they normally pack a punch. And it's not to say that there weren't still quite a few Southern fans there, but I've seen more. And, maybe some factors that went into that was, how things went with the Bayou Classic, or just travel fatigue, going to the Bayou Classic. So, but it speaks to the health of the league. I mean, speaks to the excitement of the conference, excitement with regards to this Jackson State football team, the Southern football team. And by all accounts, it was a successful day.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. Let's stick with the SWAC championship game. I want to give some information in regards to MVPs. I know people have known that before, but I'd love to acknowledge these college athletes. They'll be playing in 2 weeks in Atlanta, so they deserve as much attention as possible. Jackson State 12-0 won its 18th SWAC championship and clinched a berth to the Cricket Celebration Bowl for Saturday. We'll show you some pictures here in terms of some of the sights and scenes courtesy of the SWAC page network, sights and scenes of the SWAC championship game in terms of on-field celebration, things of that nature. That Saturday, December 17th in Atlanta is where the Celebration Bowl will be played, as you know, the Cricket Celebration Bowl, which will be versus North Carolina Central. It is the first back-to-back SWAC titles for JSU since 95-96. Quarterback Shedeur Sanders was named offensive MVP after passing for 320 yards and 4 touchdowns. Linebacker Aubrey Miller was named defensive MVP after making 5 tackles, 1 sack, and 3 tackles for loss in regards to what was going on there. We'll get you some of those pictures just to give you some updates of what it looked like that, like I said, sights and scenes. But before we go to a break, let me stick with you, Charles, in regards to that, as you see some of the pictures there, the bands, Southern, and we'll get into the marching sport a little more in terms of Thursday, give you my outcome of what took place between the Battle of the Bands, what that does for the rankings, to see if we will get a band championship matchup or was there a major upset. You see Shedeur there, Aubrey Miller in terms of the offensive and defensive MVP. You see them in action, so pretty nice stuff. We also have trophy presentations. Before we get into that, let me give it to Charles in terms of his thoughts in terms of this matchup. Let me pause a little bit and get him excited. I'm gonna go to Mike first and let you go out as a champion as you are the SWAC. Man, I can't believe I can say that. Go ahead, Mike.
All right. So what do you want to know, Doc? What do you want to know? What do you want to know? What is it you want to know?
I just was asking, your thoughts on the pitches and the scenes and stuff like that. I know you wasn't there, but you got to watch the game. Just what it looks like on television.
Unfortunately, I wasn't there. That's why I was mad because I couldn't make it this weekend. So,
well, I'm gonna save you a little bit. Let's take this.
But I will share.
I don't want you to show all your heart thugs. Let's get into this break so we can get back on the other side, and then we'll come back with a little more. And we'll get back into that.
I do have some notes as that I wrote down.
Yeah, I want to make sure we're gonna give you a chance to talk about it a little more. I know you got some notes, and we're gonna get Charles' thoughts because he want to brag his chances out. I thought I gave him enough on Sunday, but he still wants some more time. With that, this Dr. Bill inside HBC Sports Lab. We'll be right back after the break.
All right.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique to spice up your closet with trendy, unique looks. We have fashionable and chic looks at very affordable prices. Velvet Boutique offers free shipping all year long on all orders. Shop online at www.melvetboutique.com. That's www.melvetboutique.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique.
Trust the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a lot, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
So let's get in the poll rankings. Not a lot of changes here, but let's see if we can get these poll rankings up. And give you some updates for week number 14. As you would imagine, with Jackson State staying undefeated, there's not a lot of talk in terms of what's going on in the bottom teams or what they are. So nobody dropped out this week. Still have Delaware State receiving votes. We move in the top 10 with the Howard Bison as they are 5-6 and they remain at number 10. Let's go into number 9, which is Alcorn State Braves, 5-6, 4-4 on the season. 22 points, they remain at number 9. At number 8, you have Texas Southern Tigers, 5-6, 4-4 on the season with 30 points. At number 7, Alabama State Hornets, 6-5, 4-4, 46 points. At number 7, they remain there, just like Prairie View remains at 6, at 6-5, 5-3 with 58 points. So the bottom 6 teams of the poll rankings remain the same in this week. And then when you get into the top 5, there's some changes there. At number 5, you have Southern Jaguars. They fall to 7-5 after losing the SWAC championship game, 5-3 in terms of division. Conference race, 6-9, 69 points. Falling one spot from number 4, which brings us to number 4, North Carolina A&T State Aggies. Jump up to the 4th spot with 7-4, 4-1 on the season, 71 points. Previous ranked 5. At number 3, Florida A&M Rattlers, 9-2, 7-1 on the season, 95 points. Bringing us to number 2, which is North Carolina Central Eagles, 9-2 on the season, 71 4-1 with 97 points. You have Jackson State Tigers, 12-0 on the season, 8-0, 12 first place votes, 121 points. Jackson State remains number one. Get this out, for the 13th consecutive week since week 1. They did not start out there. Week 0, that was South Carolina State. But after they claimed that spot for week number 1, they have remained number 1. And after week number 4, they gained all the first place votes, and they've been rolling ever since that matchup. Let me go to you, Mike, since I kind of took away a little bit of your thunder there. What are your thoughts on the rankings?
No, I think the ranking in the poll is it. I think it hit it on the nail at the end of the season. I think the teams are appropriately ranked, given their record, given who they played. I think the rankings are, shouldn't be touched. So I tip my hat to you, Dr. Cavil, and whoever voted on this poll and the poll ranking committee. So I won't say anything about that. So kudos to you and the poll system. It should be the national official HBCU ranking. I will go on board and say it should be the official ranking for HBCU football, period. So
y'all hear that? Y'all hear that out there?
And speaking of which, all these SIDs who watch this program, put Dr. Cavil's poll in your program. My goodness.
Exactly.
Appreciate that. With that, I'm gonna go to you, Charles. Make sure you get a chance to hold on to Mike a little longer, making comments like that, man. What do you think about the poll ranking?
Yeah, I mean, everything fell into place. I think you got it right. I think when you take a look at we're about to play for this Black College National Championship. These are the 2 best teams that are sitting out there. And again, I mentioned those teams that made improvement to get into the poll that weren't in the poll last year. You have to say kudos to those teams for making their season a bounce back season, getting there into the thick of things. And it's something to look forward to for next year, especially.
Yeah, I do have a question. You asked the question during, I think it was media day for me and Charles. I think you asked it of AD and everybody in the crew, the best 3 in the East, the best 3 in the West. You do that every year.
Go ahead.
I'm just gonna say I probably was a little bit off. I wonder who was more on. If I look at your poll, I was just a little bit off. So
that's very interesting. I remember having Texas Southern like second or something like
exactly. That. we picked, some picked Texas Southern as an X factor, and we picked others. Some picked Alcorn to be higher than they were, and it's just interesting how that plays out, Doc. That profound question that you ask at that time of the year. So.
Yeah, that's a great point when you talk about that, because I had Prairie before. So it's tough for folks that kind of saw the season as it unfold, and a lot of people were probably disappointed about how Prairie finished. But when I go back and talk about where I had them ranked, it's wild for me to be like, in all actuality, they actually overachieved based on all the variables and analysis I had. So it's just weird when you go and get a chance to take a look back. Charles, how did you finish off in terms of how you picked it off, since Mike has kind of told on himself? What about you?
Yeah, I don't think I budged from having Jackson State number 1. I know that. But I think my questions that I had, especially for Southern at the SWAC Media Day, it played out during the course of the season, because I saw where a lot of people had them ranked to kind of finish first in the SWAC, and they did. But my question then was, who was going to play quarterback? And it just so happened things worked out, in that they were able to win the SWAC West. But, I think that was a lingering question during the course of the season in terms of the quarterback play. And we saw in the SWAC championship game, how things kind of played out. You never know how much more of an improvement of the season might have been had we seen Bubba
McDaniel. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get too far in this, because I want to go back to Mike giving a chance to talk about SWAC championship game, but you just talked about quarterback, and we'll get a chance to talk about this throughout the next couple of weeks. But I do want to acknowledge this. Just think about this matchup: SWAC offensive defensive player of the year, They were both SWAC MVPs, Shador Sanders and Aubrey Miller, Jr., right, for Jackson State. MEAC Players of the Year, because they were recognized officially at the National Football Foundation, the 64th annual one, in College Football Hall of Fame press conference, which airs live on ESPN3. You had Davis Richards, Offensive Player of the Year for the MEAC. Defensive back was Khalil Baker, obviously Defensive Player of the Year. So when you think about this matchup, you have future guys, defense that have showed out for their teams this year in their conference, respectively. Same in regards to the offense. I think it just makes up for a fascinating matchup when you talk about that. But I wanted to acknowledge MEAC offensive, defensive players away, just like I did for the SWAC in terms of previously last week as we talked about offensive, defensive, but we looked at them in terms of MVP. So this is a beautiful matchup. Obviously, you'll go in with people having their favorites, what took place in history, and people will talk about the matchups. But this is what you want for a bowl game that's featuring two champions in terms of the records, the accolades for multiple players. It seems to have all the pieces to the puzzle that makes this very exciting in terms of what that looks like. Coaches of the Year for both teams, conferences will be featured in this matchup. Wow, it's just amazing when you just got a list of that you can check how many players on both teams made the first and second team postseason announcements. So fascinating there. But before we get in that, I did want to go back and give you a chance, Mike, to kind of break down from a viewer side. As we were there live and we got to talk a little bit about it on Sunday, but to bring you back into this, I want to talk about how you felt about watching it live.
Yeah, so let me set the stage. I, gotten in from Mexico, went to, a real cigar bar that was featuring this game only. And, you see the screen and you see nothing. You see the Jackson State crowd, and then you see where I guess the Southern crowd was sitting. And if you know HBCU sports, Southern typically travels. There was a noticeable, somewhat of a dent in the Southern crowd, typically, at least from what I saw on the TV. Typically, Southern travels, they were there, but there was a noticeable kind of dent. But the pageantry, the way they covered the band was awesome. The angles on the football, almost pro-like. So you know how they take you into the huddle? Typically, they don't do that for a college game. At least for this game, they did take you in. They took you into. But at halftime, they didn't show the bands. It was ESPN, so they didn't show the bands like they typically do on any. So if you watch the Bayou Classic at halftime, they're going to show less of the analysis and more of the bands. Here in this case, they didn't show. They showed very little of the bands, but you got a picture for what the stadium looked like, and they showed a lot heavy. You got a heavy dose of the drum majors for Jackson State. Now I don't know if that's political.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Politics.
Yeah.
I mean, it is Tuesday runoff election in Georgia, so politics seems to be per the course if you were to look at it. So fascinating to see how that turns out. And obviously for those in Georgia that still need to get up upon it in terms of the closing of probably many of the precincts there. But certainly, hopefully a lot of people did take the opportunity to vote. With that being said, in terms of Charles, how was it for the second time? Was it any different than how you felt the first time? Obviously, a lot of emotions were going on, understanding what was going to take place. Yeah. But as somebody that was in the action and was working, did you get a chance to kind of sit back to take it in any, or were you just so focused about the work at hand, being able to do the pregame stuff?
Yeah, I think I took it in on the team bus ride into the stadium because in my head I knew that there was some finality to it, and this has been a special group. This is literally going to be one of those teams that could be mentioned as the best ever. Jackson in the history of Jackson State football. So I did take a second to, really appreciate that. And then just thinking back over the past 2 years, it has been like traveling with the Beatles or something. Every hotel that the bus shows up in, there's, Jackson State fans out front cheering. Just the whole way that the Jackson community really, again, they galvanized around this football team, galvanized around this program. And to see that again to the fever pitch like it was back when I was a kid growing up in the 80s, and Jackson State was in the midst of this 28-game SWAC win streak, it really was. It was a community outpouring of love for Jackson State football. And I mean, in a lot of ways, that, of course, carried over into the 90s, but to appreciate where it had been and how low it had been, to see what it had come, it had come to this, this SWAC championship. I just took a chance to really appreciate that and really enjoy it. And, I believe I told you, I remember that game at Prairie View when the kickoff and the wind took it back behind the kickoff team's head. And it was just the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen. And to see how it's completely flipped, it was, I had that melancholy moment where it was like, wow, this is really cool to see this team back up in the upper echelon of SWAC football.
If I may add, there was lots of tailgating shots for whatever reason for tailgate, and you saw family shots, and it just made you feel a certain way. It made you feel like Jackson State was family. And they were sharing historical facts. Like I said, they didn't show the halftime, but they showed a lot of family settings in the tailgate area, which I thought was fascinating. And if you know anything about HBCU, that hits you. It hits home. It's personal. You own it. If that was Prairie View, I can imagine that in Prairie View. I can imagine that in Texas Southern, that scene where you got family there, generations of folks, celebrating the Jackson State game, and amongst the overarching Jackson State history facts of how many times Jackson State has won it. All of that's good, but that setting just said everything. It kind of gripped me.
Good stuff. I'll say this.
Cavil.
Last time I say this, Charles, I was there obviously, and we kind of had just started on our road. We were learning each other and obviously created a quick bond there on multiple levels. But I could tell the agitation, the concern and the frustration because you were still individuals that love HBCU sports. So you saw what Prairie View was doing, and you were excited and proud for us in terms of seeing that. But at the same time, you had your emotions there. So seeing somebody that took pride in other folks' celebration because you have appreciated for it, I can honestly say I'm excited for you, your family that grew up in there, and many other Jackson State fans that have treated me on top and number one. So I'm really excited that you got to go through this process over this period of time. And we'll get to see. Hopefully the road is not done in terms of the championship game. And I say that only from the perspective of not just an HBCU fan, but a SWAC person that is like tired of hearing everybody talk about to be up on the SWAC. So we need to even this out a little bit.
Right. Everybody a SWAC, everybody a Jackson State fan.
So we'll say that. But let's get in this break. We'll come right back on the other side. We'll get in a little more analysis and see if we can get updates in terms of breaking down some other things as we get back after. Stickers will be right back after this break.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KeversVoice.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique to spice up your closet with trendy, unique looks. We have fashionable and chic looks at very affordable prices. Velvet Boutique offers free shipping all year long on all orders. Shop online at www.melvetboutique.com. That's www.melvetboutique.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna loud and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill with Inside the HBC Sports Lab. I wanted to get into this matchup. We teased out a little bit that obviously from my perspective, Dr. Bill's inside in the poll rankings that come out and those that participate in there. And both of you all have agreed with that. So that means a lot. That we have the number one team, obviously 12-0, 8-0, Jackson State versus North Carolina Central coming in at 9-2, 4-1. A lot of ways you can go in this matchup, but I wanted to talk about some of these players. First, I'm going to start with you, Charles, from a Jackson State perspective. Talk about what makes Shedeur Sanders special at the quarterback position. What does he bring to the table that some people saw but may not really understand the depth of what he does?
He's a student of the game. He's a tremendous student of the game. He's a film junkie, and he has the ability to make a lot of throws. I mean, he gets when the ball is coming out on time, he can be lethal because he's very accurate. I think that's the biggest thing that jumps out with regards to Shedeur Sanders' play. But he puts the work in. He puts the preparation in, week out. And it is very hard to beat a quarterback that not only prepares, but is extremely accurate. I mean, I've seen him fit some balls into some tight windows, and then the ability to throw from one hash to the opposite hash, those dangerous passes. So he brings so much to the table, and I think just the ability to recognize defenses. I mean, there are just times where he's checking out of a bad play to get Jackson State in something a much better play, a much advantageous play, and I think that's the biggest thing that really jumps out with regards to Shedeur.
With that, Mike, same question to you. When you talk to Shedeur, you're talking about 3,383 yards, 36 touchdowns, obviously, in terms of what he was able to do coming out of his final game. Obviously, he has the most touchdowns quarterback at Jackson State, and this was just as a sophomore. 6 interceptions, only 6 interceptions on the year. So really getting it done. What have you seen when you get a chance to watch Shedeur? What are your thoughts in terms of his ability to take control of a game, play the quarterback position?
Instinct. Instinct, big time. You heard CB mention some of the intangibles. The ability to drop back to read defenses, to roll the pocket. I saw a couple of back shoulder throws that, you ask pro quarterbacks to throw, and he threw them, with seemingly ease. He threw a couple of them actually on the run. And that's the type of pedigree, that's the type of characteristic that you look for in your quarterback as a leader. Scrambled when necessary, didn't overdo it. But all in all, if you look at it, there was a couple of plays that broke down. It's that instinct to bounce out a certain way and to look for the open man, to keep eyes downfield. And that's what I saw in Shedeur.
Yeah, I agree with the way he moves his hips and has that ability for those that have seen other quarterbacks to spin. You see that a little bit with USC quarterbacks up for the Heisman, how he can uniquely feel the rush. He doesn't have to see it, which is just instinctive, and the vision that you have to do that and not be locked in, but still kind of watching down the field to see what happens. The ability to take a step up in the pocket or back in the pocket, roll around is fascinating when you talk about that. Moving over to North Carolina Central and Davis Richards, 2,473 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. Obviously, he has the ability to do it with his legs as well, as he's been sharp. Sticking with you, Mike, what are your thoughts in terms of the Eagles' QB? QB1, as you would like to say, in a lot of that. He's Shedeur is 6'2", he's 6'3", so similar in heights in comparison, but obviously dual threat, as some people would call him in terms of what he gets done. What are your thoughts on what he brings to the table in terms of this matchup in 2 weeks?
Yeah, he's got, number one, the prototypical. He's got somewhat of the prototypical style, but he is a true dual threat in that his efficiency is like 160%, number one in passing and number two in rushing. But to be, the intelligence is knowing when to excel at one or the other. Being able to read defense, know, all right, I need to beat, or I need, for my team to be successful, I need, to use my legs more, or I need to use my arm more. And if you have a dual threat that knows the difference, not just has the capability to do different, but has the intelligence, the game intelligence, the game IQ to know when to do the both, I think that speaks a lot of that quarterback. And I think that's what you see in Davis Richard.
Before we get into this next break, and then we'll bring on our guest, Jay Skywalker, who will really provide us analysis from a person that has done it literally at the highest level in terms of the quarterback position. But before we do that, I did want to get your perspective on Davis, Richard, as we talk about the quarterbacks in this matchup. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I think this will be the best dual threat quarterback that Jackson State will have seen this year, bar none. And I think one of the things that has been brought out with regards to Davis is he's accurate. He's accurate on the move, and I think that's something that you did not see a lot with regards to SWAC quarterback. So it'll be a different challenge for this Jackson State defense in the way they try to attack Davis Richard, because he can't get away from the pressure and can't keep his eyes downfield and find receivers. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Sure. And let's take this last break. We'll come back on the other side, and we'll get the man of the hour to kind of come in and tell us his thoughts on this matchup, which he'll be calling in a couple of weeks. So excited about what Jay Skywalker, Hall of Fame, for those that don't realize it, come back. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this break.
This is Brian Fulford. A.D. Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
We are making the virtual HBCU experience available wherever you live through Stillman Online. We offer online degrees in business, criminal justice, psychology, and religion. Stillman also offers technology badges in cybersecurity and data analytics. You can participate in all student activities, fraternities and sororities, internships, graduation ceremonies, and much more. Apply for admission today at stillman.edu. Stillman College, where we prepare you for a different world.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
T-Madden and
Press the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill with Inside HBCU Sports Lab. We have Jay Walker joining us. That is Skywalker for those that don't realize, the Hall of Famer. Joined ESPN 2005. We've seen him often as the college football analyst. See him obviously specializing with HBCU games, but he calls other games as well, and even dips his toe, if you would, a little bit on the baseball scene, as people didn't realize that he does that as well, coming in and playing some baseball during his career. With that being said, welcome to the show, Jay.
Fellas, what's going on? It's been a while, not too long, but always glad I can catch up with y'all. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been too while. You know, we kind of put you in prison, if you would, you know, a little bit on the sideline because MEAC was doing so well against the SWAC. Some people say that. Or at least that's the excuse we're gonna breathe and let you have a little fun with that. But on the seriousness, you heard us talking a little bit about these quarterbacks. I don't know anybody better that can have to talk about quarterback play in general, but specifically of what you've seen. Can you talk about these two quarterbacks? And if you would, let's start with North Carolina Central's quarterback, Davis Richard.
Yep, I got to go back. I know y'all down there in the South, so I heard my man call him Davis Richard. Nah, it's Davis Richard. So it's Richard, not Richard. Bringing back some Quincy Richard memories and stuff like that. But Davis Richard he runs the ball extremely hard. You know, I remember there were times when I was in the NFL and you would play the Tennessee Titans and they were like, man, Steve McNair's running the ball harder than Eddie George. Well, Davis Richard runs the ball harder than any running back they have on their roster. So he's a load to bring down. I mean, he's strong. I'm talking 6'2", put together 225, chisel, bench presses, 400-something pounds, can squat, strong. So he is a strong, hard runner, and he knows when to call his own number, which is the key. So he's a pocket passer, but when he runs, not that he's running fast, he's just strong and athletic. So I think, and he makes good decisions. He makes good decisions, and I mean, he's a good-looking prospect. I mean, he can play. He's the reason why he's a player of the year in that conference, and the reason why he's been battle-tested. We saw him emerge when he was just a freshman making starts, and then now his junior year, you're like, man, he keeps getting better and better, and he's like a one-man wrecking crew for that offense there.
Let's go on the other side. You've had a chance to watch this young man up close as well. Shedeur Sanders, what are your thoughts in terms of what he brings to the table?
Shedeur is a pocket passer first and foremost. He's a rhythm passer. He wants to get the ball snapped, and when he gets clean looks and he can pick you apart pre-snap read, he's going to hurt you. But when you can get to him and move him a little bit, not to say he looks average, he's very good. He's really worked on his mobility. But the rhythm, if you take a rhythm passer and you don't let him throw a rhythm, then everybody else has to catch up and get on the same page, and they don't always do that. That's when you've seen them struggle. But if you give him the opportunity to get a pre-snap read and you can keep him upright and clean in the pocket, he's one of the most deadly passers in the game.
Before I let these gentlemen get a chance to ask you some follow-up questions, break down just quickly, and I know you'll get a chance to do this more over the next couple of weeks, but take us inside what you do in terms of preparing to analyze the game. For those fans that don't get to do that, but hear what you say, what are some of the things that you want them to think about during this matchup as they plan to either watch you live in terms of watching on television or there at the game?
Like when I'm an analyst, as a quarterback, I cheat. Like wherever the ball is thrown, I can pretty much tell you where the receiver came from and how he got there. So that
you
part there,
I'll be watching. I'll be like, man, why he just broke? But he should do this. He about to do this. I'm like, nice.
Yeah. So I know that, but what I like to do is like, football's a game where you need an all 11 and down in the trenches. To me, like I've always thought the play that you don't see at home, like anybody can see the running back running down the field with the ball. Who's the guy that he ran behind? Who sprung him? Who's the tight end or the H-back that got that kick-out block that you might not have seen on television, but I saw it in the stadium, and I got to highlight that. So I'm looking for those. When I'm watching film during the week to prepare for a game, numbers are numbers. You know that Dallas Daniels is going to catch so many balls, and his Rico Powers is emerging, and you got Hooks. Those guys, you know that. But who are the guys that are helping support them? Who's the guy that's clearing them out? Who's the guy that's blocking downfield? So those are the things that I try and get into the preparation. And I ask the coaches, like, give me that guy that when you come to practice every day, he's always got a great attitude. When he walks to the building, if you had 11 more of them, life would be easy. And, the coaches will tell you, the good ones will tell you. And some of them will lie to you, but,
right.
But you figure it out. And so that's what that's the passion I like. Not everybody's going to be the star, but who's doing their job and how do we highlight those guys that are doing their jobs, because the stars are going to show up. And, and if they don't show up, that's a problem. So that's kind of my mindset and preparation going in.
That is so true. If they don't show up, that's a problem. A lot of fans have realized that over this year. Mike, go ahead and follow up with a question.
Yeah, Jay. Yeah, thanks for your analysis on the QB. And I'm one of those from the South, so I mistakenly used the word Richard, but I will correct myself just like I use Alcorn or whatever. Those folks let me know as well. So can you take me on the other side of the ball and let me know, at least initially, what you're looking at, what you expect defensively from both teams? North Carolina Central, they've lost a couple that we thought they should have won. So it depends on which NCCU team you get. And then Jackson State's been a little bit more consistent. What are you seeing are keys on the defensive as an analyst, and what do you look for?
Yeah, to be honest, I sound like a broken record, but it's another cricket celebration bowl. I mean, every year we go into it, and the storylines never change from year one to now. This is year 7, right? Who's going to win the battle of the trenches? And, I remember last year I told everybody, and, Bishop will tell you, we were out there talking about it, and I was like, hey, I'm talking myself into giving myself a reason why South Carolina State can win this game. I said, I got to hype up the game because it was all JSU. But I said, if you had to ask me why they could win, I said the reason why they could win is because, one, the MEAC kind of thinks that they're better, and two, in the trenches. South Carolina State got play in the trenches, and that's the battle of it. And it's played out where the MEAC has won that way because of the trenches. And I think Jackson State is bringing probably the second most physical team I've seen coming from the SWAC. The number one team is probably one of those Alcorn teams with when they first got there, they were pretty physical. But it always comes down to those trenches. And the D-line for the SWAC, they got great numbers, but I don't think on a weekly basis they're playing as tough as offensive line as you're seeing in the Mid-East Athletic Conference. That's why North Carolina Central was able to go on the road and beat New Hampshire, a playoff team, because their defensive line is good. Their offensive line is stout. You got to be good on offense and defensive line in that conference. So Jackson State is shorted up, but I think we all agree if you had to find a chink in the armor at all for Jackson State, it's been that offensive line. When you can get to Shador and some teams can manhandle that line up front, they look very mediocre.
To your point, they also closed out the season going on the road, getting a win against Tennessee Tech. They were not a playoff team, but a non-conference win at that was pretty solid, certainly. With that being said, Charles, what's your follow-up question?
Jay, I want to ask this. Jackson State comes in with number 1 defense in the nation. And I wanted to ask, has there been a comparable opponent that North Carolina Central has seen with regards to the physicality that you talk about with this Jackson State defense?
I think, for me, like when the number 2 defense in the conference this year, it was Southern, right? It wasn't FAM. It was it was Southern. It was Southern this year. And it's like, I always say when Florida A&M was in the MEAC, their defense was middle of the pack. They were, 5th out of 8. They weren't dominating. So when they come over to the SWAC last year, they were number 2. And number 1, number 2. This year, they're number 3. So I can't see anybody on paper that they faced. I mean, Campbell beat Central. Campbell beat Central, and Central's worst game of the year. So you could say that Campbell team kind of manhandled Central a little bit. I don't know if Jackson State and Jackson State didn't manhandle Campbell, and Campbell didn't manhandle them either. So I think, you look at that and you just say, can Jackson State do like Campbell? But physically, Jackson State is not big enough. I mean, Campbell was huge. You saw those 6'8", 6'7" tackles. Jackson State could prepare for them. Central didn't. But that offensive line, they haven't seen. That's a good an offense like theirs, like Central. Yeah, maybe Alcorn a little bit. Maybe because they're gonna try to mix it up, that run, that throw. They ultimately want to run the ball first on you. Fred McNair and Jackson rose to the challenge. I mean, they struggled a little bit earlier, then they kind of blew them out. So I'd say maybe.
What about Southern when they switched to McDaniel in terms of what he brings to it?
Good point. Yeah, good point. That's close. Yeah, that's a good one there, Doc. That's a good one. I want to think about that. I'm thinking Southern with Bichon in there, and that just didn't work at all.
Right, which I can understand because that's what you've seen most of the year. That's for sure. Yeah.
But McDaniel came in there. And gave him trouble. And if McDaniel gave him trouble, Davis Richard gonna give him a whole lot of trouble. So
yeah, but at least you will have prepared for Davis Richard, whereas the film wasn't there for McDaniel. There's a preparation for Blood, there's preparation for McCray, but not so much third string quarterback.
Yeah, and think about Jackson. What makes him unique is, Dennis Thurman, D coordinator. I don't know if y'all saw the game, but I was like, man, if I was Jackson State, I wouldn't blitz him right now. Then they set up the blitz, and I was like, well, at the end of the day, JSU gonna do what JSU do, right? And they're gonna play man to man. They're gonna try and bring an extra guy to blitz. And they got gashed, and I was like, they were like, man, how'd you know that? I'm like, I'm not a genius, but JSU gonna do what JSU do. So when they get in trouble, they're gonna try and out athlete you. In doing that, you expose one guy misses the block, and it's a big play. So. I want to see how this plays out with Central having so much time to prepare for them, and are they athletic enough to play with them? That's going to be the key. Do they have the athletes? Because if JSU can come up to your face and out athlete you, they will do it over and over again.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I know you're a very busy man, and we appreciate having you on, but I remiss if I didn't give you a privilege to go and say any closing words that you want to close out in terms of what we may have missed and questions that we should consider.
No, I mean, it'll be a good one. It's MEAC versus SWAC every year. They call me a MEAC homer. I'm like, I just call the action. I haven't made a tackle in this game yet, but I've just watched it. But it's a good one. I hope everybody comes out to Atlanta to support your conference. I thought that was huge for South Carolina State. They needed that victory, and I know that it's unfinished business. And I'd say the Jackson State stuff, what they've been through. It's me and Tiff are going to be on ESPN tomorrow, just talking about our personal opinions on how it went down, what went down, and I'm sure you could talk about that for a whole show there. But I'll reiterate what I said on TV is that I think Deion Sanders doesn't know Jackson State anything. For all he's done, he doesn't know Jackson State anything. If you could have looked at it and said, hey, this is what's going to happen after 3 years, you would have said, you're lying. And so it's tough, though. I think we're going to miss him in the HBCU landscape, no doubt about it. Fans are going to be fans and be disappointed. But in terms of what he did, the stuff they got a chance. That locker room's not going nowhere. That field's not going where. People knowing where Jackson State is, again, that's still going to be there. So it's a tough one. But, Ashley Robinson, AD over there, I think he's got a plan in place. We'll see. And I'm always big, like Jackson State being good was good for HBCU football. I mean, they're one of the blue bloods, They're one of the blue bloods. Right. Not good for them down. So, when you watch college basketball, it's always good when Kentucky and Duke are pretty good. When they're bad, you can't question it. So,
hey, Jay, I love you. I appreciate it. I just want to take the opportunity to say The next time football season starts and you give me 5, there are HBCUs west of the Mississippi. I'm just saying. That's comes from TSU, comes from Grambling, that comes from Prairie View, comes from Southern. There are HBCUs west of the Mississippi.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think which one.
Okay.
I never heard of them. I haven't heard of them, but
man, we can't wait to catch up when we get to Atlanta, man.
Imagine this though. Seriously, he brought up a good point. I mean, 4 years ago, the whole talk was nothing but the West and the SWAC. Grambling, Southern, Prairie View was rolling. I mean, that was the power. You didn't want to be over there.
Yeah.
And then when they added Alcorn, you're like, oh man, it's really loaded. But I just call it like I see it. See, when I was talking about the West way back then, okay. Now when the East take over, now it's my fault. The East is loaded. You don't want to be in that East right now. So, can't win for doing my job, man. I can't win for doing my job.
That's it. You keep doing what you're doing and bringing it like you making us
appreciate it, Jay. Just messing with
representing us up there with all that information. So we appreciate you with that. We can't wait to see you when we get down there, chop it up, talk a little more football.
Definitely appreciate you.
And make sure you tell your folks support me and Tiff on Black College Live. Look us up on social media. Follow us.
For real.
I do. I check it out every time y'all come up there and see it down there, and I will continue to put it out there. We'll run commercials on here for you to make sure that more people that haven't picked it up realize it, because it's a show. The way y'all put and go behind the scenes and really go into the institution and share the bands, share it with the students to get a chance to participate in it. Good job, excellent job in terms of bringing it to the people.
Yeah,
appreciate that, man. I'll see y'all in the ATL.
All right.
Look forward to it.
Right.
Make sure you tell Tiffany we said hey.
Will do. Holla at y'all.
All right. Take care. That was our interview, a breakdown by Jay Skywalker, giving you some insights in terms of behind the scene and analyst and what he does in terms of the covenant, giving you all different perspectives. So you have multiple ways to go. We'll continue to do this over the next 2 weeks as we give you insights from different people, different perspectives. With that, we'll see if we can even get in on John Grant to bring him in. Might even sneak out to see if we can get Tiffany Green, give us some takes in terms of what she is able to do. With that, thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. We hope you enjoyed our guest, Jay Skywalker, a Hall of Fame quarterback from Howard University, now doing the sports analyst for ESPN football. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. We look forward to next week as we discuss the latest news in the lab. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Twitter. Facebook and YouTube is Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Dream big, continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles?
Of course.
Mike?
Lecture.
Dismiss.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man. I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So